Total Warhammer 3 released a beta to the AI for the game because over the course of the campaign, the AI had serious issues. It had many difficulties keeping up with the player in any reasonable way, which made the game get easier and easier as time goes on, to the point where it wasn't really a threat and it kind of ended up making the game very boring. The AI would often stand there and do absolutely nothing, and I'm not going to go that much more further into this. I do have a video, very few people watched it, but I do have a video where I went more into the issues of the AI and how it was very stagnant, it wasn't doing anything, and it was just sort of sitting around its capital. So the main problem that the AI had, of course, was it had a bug where it acted very defensively against agents. Now, agents are heroes like this, and this. If you put them on the map, you can do actions with them. Actions like hinder, replenishment, wound on this one, for example. Or if I go to this one, we can do assault, assassinate, blah, right? Basically, these agents made the AI act way too defensively. They would hide inside of their fortresses and try to hide away from them. It was probably a bug. There's probably an extra 0 or 2 in how defensive the AI tried to play against agents, but it kind of made the game very too easy and very boring. So in addition to that change and fixing that bug, they also made the AI significantly more aggressive, declaring wars more often, declaring wars it wasn't sure it was going to win. They said that it was going to cheat a lot more when it was off screen. So as you can see here, I kind of have like this stuff revealed. Anything that I haven't revealed, the AI will cheat more to be able to expand more, to be able to do, end up putting up more of a threat to you. So for this video, I'm going to be giving feedback on these changes and kind of either criticizing it, saying what it does good, or saying, here's what needs some vast improvements because this is really not working. So first of all, we are in turn 60, and you can see up here we are development in progress. This is not the last iteration of this beta. They may do some more iterations, but at the very least, this is not the launched version as is. I'm in turn 60, which is where most people would start getting really bored with their campaign. At the very least, this is kind of where I started to get bored with the campaign. I would say that that's still better than it is in, let's say, vanilla. Without the AI beta, you could typically get very bored of the game, turn 20 to 30 even, and at that point you were just mopping up to even get to your objectives. Saving the fact here that I had to play a faction that I'm good at, I had to play a faction that I kind of know the start and I know what to do with them, and ogres seem very good in single play right now. I think if you look at them as a whole, if we're playing on normal difficulty, ogres are definitely not the dominant faction. I'd put them at like slightly above mid tier, but that's about it. They certainly have a strong late game. They've got scaling, but so far as their ability to just like mass expand or get out a crap load of late game units very outrageously quickly, they're not like bad at either of these, but there's obviously a lot of factions who do it better. Factions that can cheat out higher tier units without even needing the buildings, factions with outrageously good scaling, things like that. So ogres aren't bad. The camp system, for those guys who don't know, like Total Warhammer, Kitty is hitting my keyboard right now. Kitty, could you not? The camp system, ogres don't really focus on getting strong settlements themselves. They get strong camps. So on the legendary difficulty, especially right now, the AI will spam a lot more buildings and act a lot more aggressively towards the player. They will definitely tier up. They're going to get to tier 5 very quickly. That's a change they made, actually, I think last year. The AI used to almost never tier up for some reason. They used to never get to high tier units. So the combination of the AI aggressively tiering up and getting high tier units and actually expanding to be able to get high tier heroes, lords, things like that. These two combos, last year's changes and this year's changes, these two have comboed together to kind of make the AI be a bit more aggressive. So, okay. We're here at turn 60. What has the AI accomplished? So first off, I'm not strength rank 1. I did spend the vast majority of the game at strength rank 1. Right now, it's actually, if you'll never believe it, it's Queek. Strength rank 3 is the Ice Court. I actually think Katerin is way too weak in player control. The AI can kind of bypass a lot of her weaknesses. I will go into Kislev, Vampirates, Tomb Lords later. There's clearly an issue right now with these weaker factions. The developers really need to put more attention into them, but I'm going to talk about that later. For now, we see the typical high tier factions. Grand Cathay is kind of in the ogres category. They're like above average, but they're not exactly mind-blowing. At the very least under the AI's hands, because I formed a very solid defensive block over here. Now the AI will cheat less the more they like you, so they do actually like me. And this will actually start making them get less cheats. The amount that they cheat will be less. That's one thing, but the thing is, Zhao was able to easily expand. Now, I did defensive ally him so I could see his stuff here. So here we got a tier 5 building over here. Here we've got tier 4 over here. This should be tier 5. Well, that's only tier 4. But you can see he's got tier 4s. He's got tier 5s buildings. Am I allowed to see what's in his armies just to compare? No. But you can see, you know, at the very least on strength rating, it's kind of still competitive for strength rating 1. Now, the AI isn't that great at using their armies for sure, but they will get a lot of them, and they will sometimes aggressively use them. So let's look over here for what the AI actually has in their army. Now, Nurgle, I can understand. The Nurgle AI doesn't exactly understand how to wait for better units, but I was a little bit disappointed that here we are on turn 60, and Nurgle was still sitting with a bunch of, they still had some Nurglings, they had some Plague Bearers in their stacks, you know, so, I mean, here we got Chaos Warhounds. I mean, overall, I would say this is actually a very big improvement compared to what it used to be. The AI used to almost never get high tier units in their armies. Now, I have destroyed their armies a few times, so they have rebuilt here and chucked back into me. I would say, as compared to before, they're way, way, way more competent at this, being able to rebuild their armies and get back into the fight. I mean, they're definitely doing a bit, and by a bit, I mean a lot better. They're doing a lot better at this, but I'm still a little bit disappointed with the AI on this regard. I don't know exactly what they're doing wrong. We got 2 empty building slots here. We've got a growth building in the capital, an income building, and an infection building. So yeah, so here's definitely a problem. When we just look into what the AI is doing, if any developer is watching this video, I'm going to do very minute complaints like this. I'm just going to critique the AI. So hopefully if anyone ever watches this video for any reason, you guys can understand what the AI is doing wrong. So right here, the AI is not using its vast AI income, its vast cheats, and I'm going to call them borderline exploit level of cheats that it gets on currency at the legendary difficult right now. It's not doing that to build buildings, and it's in the capital of the province, not doing that to build military recruitment buildings. So it just simply put cannot get enough high tier units that it wants to have. Now, I'm going to assume that down here this is following as well. I mean, we do see that it does have some high tier units here, but not nearly enough. If we look at my stack right here, I mean, I'm full man-eaters with Iron Fist, 2 supporting Lead Belchers, and 4 Mournfang Cavalry with great weapons, 3 heroes, a Lord. Over here we got Iron Guts, Lead Belchers, Mournfang Cavalry. Over here in Grecius's army, no, it's the campaign. Grecius's army were a bit outdated because he's been out for a while. We got Mournfang Cavalry, Lead Belchers, Iron Guts. So, you know, once again, we are in a position where I'm firmly, and I have been firmly, at producing tier 3 and above armies for 30 some turns now. It's turned 60, and I have some armies right now that are actually just pure high tier Giga units. I'm not quite at full man-eater pisters and crushers yet, but you know, the AI has been pressuring me pretty hard, so I've been trying to get out better armies. They did burn down my main money-making province, so as you see, my income's not so great here, but I do believe, is this a save? Yes, what I can do here, here's definitely a problem with the AI, and I wanted to, one of the reasons I pieced out on this turn, like I stopped playing, was just to show this to you guys. What I can do is I can piece out Klein Rictus. They tried to throw into me and they lost a couple armies, and now he will give me 25,000 gold for a peace treaty. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad deal, but especially what I do and what a lot of you guys should do, because the AI will never, apparently the devs don't see this as a problem despite it being really exploitive, is you can go to any of these AI and you can join their wars. So I'm going to join against all these people here, and now I can make a quick 22,000 from declaring on all these people, and you're going to get a trade agreement as well.
A pleasure.
Okay, I just did that because I went to a high strength rank ally. And then what I can do here is we go to another peace deal. Looks like the man-eaters over here want a peace out, so there's another 2,000 gold. Let's get a trade deal from them as well. Do you understand what I'm trying to do here? There's clearly an issue right now with the AI being far too willing to pay you to go to war and far too willing to pay you to peace out of a war. There's also a problem with the AI being far too, let's say, desirous of buying land. Now, I don't have any buildings here with barracks. If I could show you some buildings with barracks, you would realize just how absurdly overpowered this is. But if I was to try to sell Wang Sheng, there's 15,000 gold right there. That's all he has. That's just Wang Sheng. That's a tier 3 settlement. And we see how much he's willing to pay here for non-Li. Now, non-Li's, oh, they're both tier 3. What's a crap settlement? So the Maw Gate is a tier 1 settlement with literally no buildings on it. So if I wanted to sell him the Maw Gate, he will make me pay him to give him the Maw Gate. That is certainly interesting. I wonder what's causing that. But at any rate, buildings like barracks will still be massively overvalued. Tier 3 settlements, even if they, they don't really do anything, they're kind of massively overvalued as well. Really just selling settlements to the AI is massively overvalued. Early in campaigns, you can make like 12,000 gold by just putting a barracks in a building and selling it to the AI. So when we're talking about it from that perspective, that really needs to be fixed. That's really exploitive-y behavior. Going to war for money, then piecing out for money is way too easy. And the factions like Ogres that can play, let's say, both sides. Ogres aren't entirely good or entirely evil. It's way too effective to go entirely good, in my opinion, still. This has nothing to do with the campaign AI, but I just want to say all this. It's way too easy to side with the good guys. The Franzes and all that, it's way too easy to side with them because they will very easily pay you to go to war, and you can make a lot of money going to war with factions that you can't even reasonably get close to. And then you can make way too much money piecing out those factions. Or I guess that's pox makers. Oh shoot, actually I shouldn't. I had a peace treaty overturned where I pieced out the Blessed Dread for 5,000 gold. I never fought one battle against them. I never even went near them. So that's something that maybe on Legendary the devs could look at fixing. But let's go back to the AI here real quick. So he's not properly building military buildings in here. So Nurgle isn't properly recruiting high tier units. That is definitely one problem. I think the AI on Legendary has enough cheats, in my opinion, that there's really no reason for them to ever put these in their capital. There's almost no reason for the AI to ever have growth, income, infections. You could make an argument on, I'll grant you that, but at the very least, there should really be no reason for the AI to put growth or income buildings in the capital of any province. That should always be military recruitment buildings, and they should be recruiting much higher tier units. Another problem we noticed here, I'm just going to go over this one real quick, is the level of lords. Now, sometimes the AI can get their lords to above level 20, and they can get them immortal, and sometimes they can't. And when they can't do that, what we'll frequently see as the problem here is the AI will sit here with level 11 lords, level 2 lords. We go up to the Chaos Dwarves up here. I killed a bunch of their lords, so he's level 7. These guys are going to get bopped off instantly, and they're going to respawn them at level 1. Maybe they cheat them up to level 2 or level 3, and then they'll just die again, and they'll recruit another one. That's clearly a problem, in my opinion. I think the AI should maybe get the benefit of a doubt, and maybe we should do something like the AI has... I think more lords should potentially have immortality under AI control. Alternatively, there should just be more lords, like the Demon Prince should just have immortality by default. Maybe some heroes and things can have that, because heroes also have issues getting leveled up. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Because I haven't shown Kugat's level. Why haven't I shown Kugat's level? Oh yeah, here we go, another level 3, because Chaos Dwarves can't recruit high tier level lords and they just die repeatedly. In fact, if I go look over here, level 1, level 2, level 1, level 26, level 9, level 26 again. So yeah, it does have some decent ones over here, level 4, level 10. Yeah, I mean, we're turned 60. If your lords aren't at the high levels, they're not going to be able to put up even a remote fight against me. I think maybe there should be a system wherein if the lord is basically reduce the amount of cheats the AI has for lord experience, but then maybe give them something where if they're below half the turn's level, maybe put in some formula like this. Basically, if we're at turn 60, 70, 80, and they still got like a level 1 to 5 to 10, even a level 20 hero, maybe they should get significantly more XP per turn to kind of like shoot them up so that they can actually try to catch up and give a threat to the player. Now, why am I saying that? Because Kugath is level 44. Kugath actually came up and was about level 39 on turn, I think, 20. 2018, somewhere around there. The AI currently has so many cheats for experience because the developers are trying to shoot so much experience into these lords that if a lord actually is immortal, like Kugath and some other lords who will take lots of battles, I'm presuming Kugath took lots of battles against Gorshed zombie stacks. The guy who used to be here is a zombie lord. I'm assuming he shit out a bunch of zombie stacks, shot them into Kugath, who kept killing them and getting experience. The problem is, if the AI actually is aggressive with these giga mega overleveled lords, it can be almost impossible for the player to put up with them. Not every faction is very good at killing lords. Certainly Kislev struggles a lot at killing lords. As a faction, they're extremely incompetent at killing lords and heroes. I mean, obviously any faction can kill lords, any faction can kill heroes, but there are some factions who are significantly better than others, and there's other factions who are significantly weaker. One thing going forward, I actually think the Total War community does really bad and is really stupid at and really frustrates me. Basically, they argue faction A and faction B can both kill Archaon. Therefore, they're exactly equal. And I think maybe they do that because they play Empire, who's like an S+ tier faction right now. But let me tell you, players, if you guys play nothing but Empire, not every faction can just root enemy heroes with 1 or even 2 light mages, chain rooting them. I think that's in light. And then just shoot them with giga mega high tiered gunners with 250 range. In fact, pretty much only Empire can do that. If you look at other factions like Kislev that don't have very high damage melee, but also don't have root spells, but also don't have the high damage, mega high range gunners, these factions can really struggle against lords and heroes. And it's not uncommon, I've played a couple campaigns right now, I might show you some of the end of other ones, but it's not uncommon for some factions like Tomb Kings or like Kislev. Vampires have a bit of a better time at this just because of their raw damage output from range, but vampires can also struggle at killing enough high level lords and heroes. If you do end up fighting one of these factions that uses the super big XP cheats and also uses well, they might have some faction nearby they can fight against, you can end up with lords against you right now who massively overlevel you to absurd degrees, to where 1 level per turn is considered a very good par. If you can get your level per turn, like Manfred level 20 on turn 20 is considered like a good par. That's like quite good. And I have fought many lords and heroes right now in the current beta who pass that par. 1 level per turn is on par with things like Clan Molder that have extraordinarily like S-tier lords that can just fight battle after battle after battle after battle after battle and just continuously level up with settlements nearby that are killable, blah, 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 blah. So when the AI is beating that par, it becomes quite difficult for the player to even deal with it. And that's why I'm kind of recommending that the current system for lords and heroes is not great for being, let's say, fair to players. Now, we see right here that this settlement is destroyed, and here's another problem with Nurgle, and this goes into what I just said. See, the only thing keeping me alive against Nurgle was that the AI was extraordinarily incompetent. See, what it actually did is it ran up here, and it raised this settlement. Then 2 turns later, it ran up here, and it raises settlement. Then like 3 turns later, it ran up here and resettled it. And like 3 turns later, it ran up here and resettled it. And then you'll never believe it, then it raised the Great Hall of Grecius. It rebuilt Grimtop, got it up to tier 3, yada yada yada. The problem is, of course, as you might imagine, this means the AI is very, very, very slow to beat the player. Now, I have seen the AI conquer other AI and expand at a pretty reasonable pace, as seen here with Zhao, but it seems like Chaos factions get a predisposition to sacking and burning land. Maybe it's a Plague Bearer. It's one of these. Yeah. Declares one races they despise and brings destruction to their lands by burning cities that are uncorrupted. See, that's actually not a good thing, developers. It might make Nurgle play more like a Chaos faction to get a difference between Chaos, Skaven, Empire, etc. But the problem is, it just ints them into the ground, and to me, it feels like the AI is going easy on me. And it feels like the AI has been programmed to go easy on me. Now, I don't like that. I don't like feeling like the AI is taking it easy on me. I don't like it feeling like the AI is you know, it could punch me with this near level 40 Kugat, but it's like, whoa, that would be unfair to you, the player. Like, but if I did that to the AI, we'd allow that, and I did. I sprinted up, used some trickery, got a lot of confederations, absolutely massacred through. Got a little bit stuck on Grimgore for a bit because he had super walls, but then we got through Grimgore. I sold provinces. I took money to go to war. I took money to peace out war. I used every trick in the bank to expand and get, you know, what I was doing here. And then, of course, you know, we're getting a little bit stonewalled on the Chaos Dwarves because it's a bit rough for me to go out into their land. But at any rate, it felt too much to me, like Kugath was pulling his punches. Had I known he was going to be this slow, and had I known he wasn't really going to expand this much, I wouldn't have sent all my 3 armies. So I wouldn't have sent 4 armies, I think it is, down south. I would have just, you know, ran up to here, and I would start conquering this and all that. Tretch tried to attack me, but he... I'm not going to call this an AI's fault. He tried to triple underway through me. Is that what it's called, underway? Well, I need to look that up. Where is that? Tunneling stance. He tried to tunnel under me, and 3 in a row got caught by my armies. So 3 of his armies died, and then the 4th was just left alone. So he did have a plan, it just completely backfired. So I feel a little bit bad for the Treche on that one, but he gave it his all, you know. But anyway, I would have gone down there, I would have continued to beat that up. So basically the one faction that really could play aggro into me and wipe me out really wasn't doing anything. So I just, you know, helped out Zhao over here for fun, and I started to beat up his enemies so he could focus over here. And it just, I don't like it when the AI feels like it's pulling its punches on me. I want it to go ham. I want it to be 100%, you know? And I'm definitely not feeling like that when some of these tougher chaos factions are literally programmed and told, like, burn down the land for literally no reason, for no progress, for no gain, burn your own land down, and then slowly rebuild it using all your AI cheat money, which is stupid. I do see here that the AI is using plagues. It did, okay, so this is a pretty good plague. Violent, how long a plague lasts on selected target. Is that's the name of the plague. I'm not even joking. The name of this plague, which I was gonna say is a very powerful, effective plague. The name of this plague is Violent, how long a plague lasts on selected target. So I think there's probably a bug on that one. I'm not going to call it a very big deal, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so yeah, it is using plagues. I can see it using plagues here. It is doing its best here. So I like how it's using plagues. I like how it's building up actual armies, but I don't like how it just mass expanded. Now, if we look at the province counts here, and this is probably something we're going to see a lot of, yeah, you can see here almost all the high, in fact, literally every high province count that I see is actually off one of these AI that is not determined to burn land down. Currently, burning land down literally does nothing positive. If we look down here at the low, or at the least the low that people that own land, we can see that it's almost all the chaos factions that are going to be trying to burn land. I think that that's definitely a problem. The chaos factions, this is not benefiting them in any way. They're not being made better by this, stronger by this. The decision where they now try to just randomly burn land all the time, raise cities, that's bad. That's just really bad. I don't like that at all. Chaos, and this kind of goes into the overall campaign balancing. It's pretty obvious to me that siding with the forces of order is like blatantly easier, and siding with the forces of chaos is basically this game's hard mode right now, particularly because and this is one thing I do like, so I would like to see more of this, but I'll go into this in a second. There are a lot of order factions right now, Balthazar and Zhao and Franz and Goth Girlfriend. They work together with each other, and because they form a united AI front where the two of them basically always back each other up, they will basically always triumph for their enemies like Sylvania, who has nobody to work with, nobody who likes him, and he just always gets overwhelmed and outnumbered. He just can't do anything. So we can see the world is pretty much being won everywhere by the forces of good. Skarsnik did manage to beat Karak, surprising, don't know how he did it. Then he, despite actually a pretty solid start, got completely wiped by Skaven. So the forces of good are definitely not doing, well, good right now. Or sorry, the forces of evil aren't doing good, the forces of good are doing quite good. So this brings me into one last issue I have. I think the AI particularly should be more interested in filling out provinces. There's currently a problem we can see here with the Western Badlands here. We can see a problem with Skarsnik right here. Skarsnik's not even at war with Clan Moors. So there's clearly a problem where the AI will sometimes have land, you know, that it doesn't complete it. And I was trying to show the problem over here as well, where Zhao owns the capital, but Balthazar Gelt owns the 2 cities. I think the AI should be made, especially if we're going to have more of these buddy factions. And I do like the buddy factions, because they kind of make the map, I want to put it in a way that some people don't like it when there's consistency, but I actually do like it. The fact that there's the duo Bastion of the East that block any of these chaos factions from going to China. If you ever play in this area, it is quite difficult to get through the Bastion of the East. Zhao and Balthazar are quite powerful and will very effectively, on Legendary, if they don't like you, they will very easily keep you out of China. It's like one of the challenges of the game right now. Another challenge is to beat Goth Girlfriend and Franz. They duo together very nicely, and they just form kind of like an unbeatable block that the AI, you're not really going to be able to get through there. And then once they introduce Katerin, and it's Franz and Katerin and Goth Girlfriend, and all of them are united and working against generally all their enemies, it makes this area of the map very cool, in my opinion, because we got 2 different types of Empire players, and we have the Kislev player, and so you'll fight all these different armies, and they're going to be quite powerful, and this kind of like order-tied block is just going to be quite a difficult challenge for any of the late game players that actually want, well, a late game challenge. But completing my thought with all this, then, I do think then that the developers need to make sure that provinces stop looking like this, because all this is doing is hurting the AI, and all this is doing is making both of them weaker. So maybe if there's some sort of like trading system where the AI kind of like valued things and was like, okay, I'll give you Wurtbad, so you get an entire province, and in return you give me Averheim, so I have an entire province. Or, you know, maybe there was some settlement trading where it was just like, okay, I'll give you Fuheng, but in return, you know, maybe you give me Shiwu. I mean, and this is working here because these are all capitals, but you kind of get my idea, right? Where I just think that the AI should just trade a little bit more, so it's a little bit stronger, because especially going forward, it's pretty obvious to me that the duos are quite good, quite challenging. So I think I've kind of gone over every issue. So far as Chaos Dwarves, Chaos Dwarves definitely have an issue. This is going into Chaos Dwarves. I'll do Chaos Dwarves and then we'll talk about weak factions. But Chaos Dwarves definitely have an issue, in my opinion, where the AA is far not lenient enough to actually increase their arsenal, to increase their unit caps, and instead it will just shit out Goblin and Orc armies. For those who don't know, Goblins and Orcs for Chaos Dwarves are quite weak. They need their actual Chaos Dwarf units. Now, I think one thing the developers should really look at is just directly buffing the Chaos Dwarf AI. Maybe it should just get free, what are they called? The arsenals, the tools, whatever you call it. Maybe they should just get way more free of them per turn tick, so the AI could increase their arsenal more to actually be more of a challenge, because this AI was challenging. He did look kind of tough, but then when I looked at his actual army comps, the only reason he looked tough is because he had like 8 armies, and almost all of them were just full of orcs. And that's not scary, that's not challenging. It kind of felt like a cheat, because I had one army go over here and just absolutely obliterate him. In fact, if we go over here, I think this army is good, but I could be wrong here. Yeah, okay, so this is one army he built that was finally full of some actual good units. We got 2 Infernal Earthsworn, 2 Blunderbusses, 2 Fireglaves. We still got Hobgoblin Wolf Riders here, though. 1, 2, 3 of them. I don't really like that, but I mean, the rest of it is at least Chaos Dwarf units or artillery. So this army was actually somewhat good, but I believe this army out here, yeah, this is all Goblins, and So there needs to be something to kind of help the Chaos Dwarf AI scale a little bit better and be a bit more threatening as the game goes on. Certainly the Chaos Dwarf AI should be like the late game Chaos AI, kind of how Franz ends up being a very powerful late game AI for, you know, the player to fight, especially because it's Franz and Goth Girlfriend and Kislev working together. I think the Chaos Dwarf AI could be a little bit better on that regards. Just thoughts that I have. I'm not saying like double or triple the arsenal, but give them a little bit more per turn, especially like when we go hard to very hard to legendary. Just let them cheat out a little bit more, because they're obviously not as good as a player at managing their economy, so they're going to need a little bit of help. Okay, now this brings me, of course, to the weak factions like Kislev, like Tomb Kings, like Vampirates. I think the developers very much need to put more attention onto these factions and making sure that they actually scale well enough and they're actually powerful. I think with the legendary AI being this hard, that you can no longer make excuses and just let factions be bottom tier as hell, just absolutely terrible. You can't just let them be that way for 2 years anymore. It's been blindingly obvious that Kislev's economy is miserable. Their actual economical buildings are terrible. For some reason, even on their capital cities, which I can't actually see here, their capital cities, like Kislev and Prague, they only have 10 building slots rather than the 12 that they need. So I really think they should be much stronger. Kislev itself should get all the 3 major cities of Kislev, if they're owned by a Kislev faction, they should get 12 building slots instead of 10. That would help out massively. I also think most of their buildings need to have their costs reduced by half, and particularly their economy buildings. Farms should be 250 to 500 to upgrade. Their income buildings, currently they're 1,000 gold for 100 income. That's miserable. How about 500 gold cost? That needs to happen. The Kislev economy is absolutely miserable. Greenskins I also have an issue with because the devs nerfed them really hard randomly. Greenskins were S tier for a very long time, but after all the nerfs, they're like a low B tier right now, and because the developers aren't going to look at them for another 2 or 3 years, by the time they go look at them, they're going to, you know, there's going to be so much power creep, they're just going to feel worse and worse and worse to play. And I just don't think, with all the power creep that had already happened, I don't think Greenskins need that much of a nerf. Tomb Kings down here need a massive, massive, massive buff. Tomb Kings right now on Legendary are absolutely miserable to play. Absolutely miserable, bordering on unplayable. If you want an actual challenge, play Tomb Kings right now. They are miserable. I think at bare minimum, Tomb Kings need to have 2 armies to start with, just bare minimum. That's just absolute, like, Archon the Black could have 3 starting armies, the rest of them need 2 minimum. That just needs to be changed now. I also think a lot of their building costs need to be reduced. I think a lot of their tech bonuses need to be increased. For example, Cetra's Graveguard used to be some of the most powerful melee in the game, and now they're like firmly mid-tier. So they haven't really kept up with the amount of power creep in the game. Obviously, I mean, their tech tree was made like 10 years ago now, right? So there's just some serious issues with that. Certainly buffing a lot of the pyramids to maybe give some global buffs. Maybe each pyramid could do like a slight different tune-up to the stats of Tomb Lord. So that, like, as time went on, they were a little bit more threatening. Right now, Tomb Kings are like one of the weakest late game factions, straight up one of the weakest early game factions, and in the mid game, they're like low mid tier. Tomb Kings are supposed to be scaling into the late game, and instead they slowly get outscaled because when every other faction, like Ogres for example, eventually Ogres get unlimited camps. Ogres eventually get things like 10 extra armor-piercing weapon damage and 10 extra armor-piercing missile damage for every man-eater, and they get sundering attacks. And here we can see local recruitment cost and duration for man-eaters. Here we can see all ogres get 10 extra charge and ogre charge upgraded, so they can just charge spearmen and barely even get it reduced. Here we got missile block chance for all iron fists and armor for all ogres. Do you get what I'm going with this one? Eventually, just this man-eater stack is going to be a silver shield unit with 63 armor, which is still a decent amount of armor. It's not exactly ignorable, right? A silver shield unit with good melee attack, good melee defense, super huge charge that can't even be reduced, massive damage, or eventually I could get man-eater pistols, and then each of my dudes is just going to be this crazy shooting gun. Now that's fun for ogres. I like ogres, but it's hard. And I'm just compared to ogres. I mean, if we look at Empire or Dark Elves, you can see Tomb Kings, they're just miserable. By the late game, Tomb Kings can get like 5, 6, 7 armies, when other factions, even now when I'm playing ogres, I have like 7 armies turn 60. And again, these are not 7 armies of crap. These are like 7 well-equipped armies. The Tomb Kings would struggle just to beat this one stack, and this is one of my most out-of-date stacks. There's no way they're ever gonna beat Man-Eaters with Iron Fists. I mean, that's not happening, right? They would just run right through, and because they're shielded, of course, like, they can't even really focus them down. They would just charge through, massacre everything. There's nothing Tomb Kings can do to beat Mornfang Cavalry with great weapons. That's just not gonna happen. So I guess what I'm saying here is Tomb Kings, like, the developers need to pay more attention to the balance of the factions right now. In the past, they've kind of just ignored it, but I think we're definitely at the point. Head-to-head campaigns they've been having this issue for a long time, but I think even in single player right now, the vast, massive power difference between the factions has become unignorable. The devs, in my opinion, Vampirates, Tomb Kings, and Kislev need buffs right now. I think also Lizardmen are a bit too weak. What are some other ones? Lizardmen are definitely too weak. Oh god, let me think. There's so many factions. High Elves are a little bit too weak, not like super weak, but they could use like a little bit of a tune-up as well. They're not doing great. Let me think around here. Grand Cathay's fine, but like I'd like to. They're doing really good in the AI hand, so it would be bad to buff them, but I mean, we already buffed factions like Dwarves, like Empire, that were still doing good in AI hands, right? So I definitely think Grand Cathay could use a little bit of a stronger campaign. I don't think it would be that big a deal, but I think maybe some of these cities here could use 10 slots. Hanyu Port should be 10 slot to compensate the fact that it has the port slogging it down. Shengwu should be a 10 slot. I really think pretty much all of these major Cathay cities should be 10 slots to, because like if you actually look at China, there's not that many provinces. If you look at China and you compare that to, for example, Empire's got so many provinces. When you actually look at how many provinces are in China, there's not that many. Maybe we could leave things like Shenyang at 8, but I definitely think a lot of these more major cities should go to 10 slots. That would help make China feel a bit better. I mean, one thing a lot of people don't notice is just how much empty space there is in China. Yeah. Anyway, I think overall, I like the AI beta. I like a lot of what they're doing. It definitely keeps the game a bit more interesting. There's still problems, of course, but I would say overall, in my opinion, very massive improvement. The game is definitely better, in my opinion. That's all. Just massive improvement. Game's doing way better. If they could just push a few more things, it would be absolute perfection. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a comment down below. Thank you all. Bye-bye.